The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Well, here we come again, riding on in. It's another episode of The Outlaw of College Football, and here they come, riding on in once again. That's you guys and gals. The Outlaw Posse is now in effect. Can also be located on Twitter at OCF Productions. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. That's the big four. Now, getting right to it here, we're not going to do a lead up because it's to follow up on a topic that I done the other day about the whole Oregon-Washington being vetted thing. Seems like we had a lot of people come in there that were not really happy with the fact that I might have suggested, and a few other of our members might have suggested, that the Big Ten does absolutely, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, have blood all over your hands. Not just your hands, your whole damn Big Ten body. I don't see how the Big Ten can continue to put on this facade like, oh, we're not going to be responsible for killing the Pac-12, even though we took their two biggest money makers. Really? Y'all going to have to own this shit because we're not going to let it go. We're going to call you out, Big Ten. Kevin Warren, even though you're not officially the commissioner anymore, you the one that started all this crap, man. Let's rewind back and think about this for a second. Who was it that decided to form this little alliance between the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 to say, we're standing up to the SEC and them expanding and trying to hurt the Big 12. And we're expanding. We're going to make sure that we put the SEC in check. We're not going to raid each other. We're not going to pilfer and steal each other's members. That was the deal that Kevin Warren and the Big Ten made with the ACC and the Pac-12. And then in 2 short years, what happens? Bam! They take the lunch money. They take the Pac-12's lunch money. After all that, after the Pac-12 had stood by the Big Ten side for a better part of probably 70, 80 years with that whole Rose Bowl crap, where they had 2 conferences tied up and they ended up filtering down to all the other conferences, and everybody else's conference champions was tied up because of the Rose Bowl. We probably would have had a playoff a long time ago. We probably had a playoff probably back in the 70s had it not been for the Rose Bowl and their stupid 2-team tie-in. But that's another story for another day. You see, Kevin Warren is a snake. He told, here's what he done. Here's what happened. I'll lay it out for you. He saw what the SEC done, had a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction there, I think, and it is like, we actually the Big Ten wanted Texas at one time. So they got a little pissed off. And Kevin Warren's like, you know what, we're not going to expand just right yet because we don't want to be perceived as reacting to the SEC. But we're going to make sure that the Pac-12 doesn't go out and take 4 teams, 2 teams, 4 teams, whatever from the Big 12 and completely deep six the Big 12, which is what could have happened, is which they could have done that, but they didn't because they listened to the Big 10, who's been Stockholm Syndrome in their ass, like I said, for 7 or 8 years. But Kevin Warren saw that, and he's like, I can't allow the Pac-12 to become stronger than us, even though they've been our partner. If the Pac-12 takes most of the Big 12 in, guess who has the entire western side of the market in the United States at that point? Sure, the SEC has the Texas schools and Oklahoma. But the Pac-12 would be from, they had taken those Big 12 schools, the Pac-12 would have been from west of the Mississippi all the way to the Pacific Ocean with all the markets. At that point, USC and UCLA wouldn't have left. And Kevin Warren, to give it to his credit, he saw it. He saw it in front of him. He conned the Pac-12 and to some degree the ACC into going along with this whole a loosely knit alliance. We're not gonna raid each other. We're gonna stand up the SEC crap. And he waited his time, him and the Big Ten. And once they got clear of the whole Oklahoma, Texas thing going to the SEC, what happens? They go out there and they take the two biggest money markets from the Pac-12. And now the Pac-12 is about to crumble. And now the Big Ten is suddenly like, this makes us look sort of shitty. What we did was we basically lied to them. And we're supposed to be like best buddies for 70, 80 years. We can't have this. This is bad PR. So they come out with a statement like, look, we're not going to take any more of your teams. We might have took your two best teams, but we're not going to take no more. We're going to give you a chance to reconcile yourselves and to recover. And y'all can go out and get San Diego State and SMU. And y'all can recover. And wink, wink. In the back of their minds, you're like, hey, Big 12's going to go out there and do our job for us. And that way we won't have the PR nightmare. Well, guess what? We're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you sneakily get away with that, because that's not what happened. You took the two biggest markets, and now the Big 12 may come in and help you finish the job on the Pac-12, but you're the one that started all this. You're the one that shot the Pac-12 in the chest. You didn't exactly hit them straight in the heart, but you mortally wounded them. And now they're just dragging themselves along, bleeding out. And what are you going to do? You're waiting for the Big 12 to come in and pick up the pieces. And then you're going to try to come in and take the last two, that being Oregon and Washington, in my opinion. Y'all going to take the other two big markets, is what the Big 12 and the Pac, not that's Big 12, but the Big 10 is doing. You have the Pac-12 bleeding hearts coming in here, still with their Stockholm Syndrome, and trying to blame the Big 12. And they continually take shots at the Big 12 all the time. There's been this little war of words going on between Cleveland and Yormack ever since the Big 10 swiftly kicked them in the nuts. They don't want to take on the bully. They want to take on somebody that they think that they can handle, you see. And what gets me is sometimes they'll even try to blame the SEC, the Big 10 people. Well, if the SEC hadn't took Oklahoma and Texas, we wouldn't have had to do this. Another thing they'll tell you is USC and UCLA contacted us because it's against the rules for us to contact them. Yeah, right. You don't think that they can't go behind closed doors and send a little note like you do in class along to somebody? And yeah, it wasn't just USC and UCLA. The Big Ten encouraged this, but so they could have the most markets in the West. That's the only way that they was going to be able to combat the SEC move of Texas and Oklahoma. Yep, so to some degree, the SEC did make the Big Ten do this. But it's just like the old adage goes, that your parents tell you, if you see somebody jump off the bridge, you're going to jump off with them. In this case, it wasn't really jumping off the bridge, but if you see someone, I don't know, steal something and they get away with it, you're going to go out and steal something too? It don't make you look any better. Just because the SEC did it, it makes it okay? No. And the way y'all did it, it was pretty shady. Granted, the Oklahoma and Texas thing, they were a little secretive too. But the way the Big Ten did it, and forming some kind of little alliance with the Pac-12 not to raid anybody, yeah, that's pretty shady. But just wanted to call that out real quick because I got tired of hearing these Big Ten people coming in here and these Pac-12 bleeding hearts. By the way, Stanford, California, maybe they'll get an invite, like I said, but it's probably mostly Stanford and California fans and maybe some Oregon State and Washington State fans that don't want to see the Pac-12 go by the wayside, because if it does, like I said in the last podcast, they're going to be like the Mountain West with a Pac-12 mask on. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. Also, there's a little join option now next to the membership button. If you don't mind, hit that join option. You can join the Outlaw Posse. I'm going to think of some rewards and some things to do to recognize those that are in the Outlaw Posse. It's only $2.99 a month. That's like, what, 75 cents a week. So do that if you can find it in your heart. Also, speaking of hearts, there's a little heart thanks option down here. If you don't mind, you can hit that as well to do a one-time donation. Throw some of that in the coffers. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.